Good morning, children. Today in Social Science and Economics in class 9, we are going to take up the chapter Food Security in India. Now, food security refers to the availability, accessibility, and affordability of food. We are all aware of the fact that food is one of the basic requirements of a human being, of every individual. It is needed in a country to ensure food at all times. So, if we have enough food stock, then only will it be possible for everybody to have access to the food at all times. Now, food security is needed to ensure that no person dies of hunger. We see that there are families which are poor. We see that either their income is very low or they do not have any job. So, it is difficult for them. So, we have provision for that also. Hunger has two dimensions. We have chronic hunger and we have seasonal hunger. Now, chronic hunger is actually the consequence of a diet that is persistently and inadequate in terms of quantity and quality. That means the quality of the food sometimes that is consumed by the people may not be of good standard, and quantity also may not be enough for all the members of the family. And we see generally that poor people suffer because one of the reasons is that their income is low. And because of that, they are not able to buy enough food for survival. This is generally found in rural areas. It also occurs when people lack opportunity to earn enough to be educated. Either they have received less education or they are not educated and do not have the skills to get a job and to meet their basic needs. So that is why we have chronic hunger. And we have seasonal hunger, which is related to the cycle of food growing and harvesting. And this is generally prevalent, we see, in rural areas because of seasonal agricultural activities. And this mostly affects the people who are landless people or people who are working on the lands or agricultural laborers the most of all. Now, what are the measures for self-sufficiency in food grains? There was a time when we were not producing enough. There was a time when the amount of production of food was not enough and sufficient for everybody. Since independence, India is aiming at self-sufficiency in food grains. Various steps and measures have been adopted in order to accomplish this. That is, in order to become self-sufficient, in order to increase our food production. Why? Because basically we are aware that the population is continuously increasing. And in order to fulfill the needs of the growing population, it is also important that the amount of food grains production increases. The Green Revolution, we know, brought about a major change in the food production. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, it helped significantly in becoming self-sufficient. So the Green Revolution was a great benefit because it completely changed the way food was grown. Although the success varied from region to region. It was successful, but it was not uniform in all the regions. Somewhere it took place earlier, somewhere it took place later on. During this period, the improved inputs, which included high-yielding variety seeds of wheat and rice, were introduced. And this high-yielding variety of seeds naturally was one of the ways of increasing the production in many states. We see that the highest rate of growth was achieved in Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. In fact, there was a special stamp that was released in 1968 titled The Wheat Revolution for the impressive progress in agriculture and the vast increase in the amount of food grains that were produced. So we see that the coming of the Green Revolution in the country brought about major changes and helped to increase our food production. So the success of wheat was later replicated in rice. The highest growth rate of wheat was achieved in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, which was 44.01 and 30.21 million tons in 2015 and 16 respectively. The total amount of food production was 252.22 million tons in 2016. So that was a great change in the amount of production of food in our country so that we could become self-sufficient. Now, food security in India. As we've already talked earlier, the Green Revolution has significantly resulted in increased production, and that in turn has made India self-sufficient in food grains due to the variety of crops that are grown in our country. Even in adverse conditions means that whenever there is any natural calamity, or whenever it can be in the form of an earthquake, it can be in any form of nature, or a crop failure. So that time also availability of food grains is ensured. It is ensured by the government. And how does the government do that? Through a food security system. This food security system consists of maintaining a buffer stock of food grains. That means the surplus is stored in granaries to be used at times when there can be some adverse condition as such. So a buffer stock of food grains is maintained by the government along with a public distribution system. Public distribution system, or what we can also refer to as the PDS system, for food grains and other essential items. Essential items, that means which are important and necessary for survival. Now, buffer stock. Now, what is buffer stock? It is a stock of food grains, that is wheat and rice, which is procured by the government. The government purchases wheat and rice through FCI, or what is actually the Food Corporation of India. In short, it is known as the FCI, from farmers of those states which have surplus production, which have more production, excess production. So the government buys it through this FCI, or the Food Corporation of India, from the farmers. In fact, the farmers are paid minimum support price, or what we also call it as MSP, that is M for minimum support price, MSP, for the crops. So farmers are assured that this amount which the government announces, that they will definitely get that. MSP, that is the minimum support price, is announced at the beginning of the sowing season. That means initially only before you can say at the beginning of the sowing season, this price is announced, that is the MSP is announced, in order to give incentive to the farmers. That means if the more they grow, the more they are going to benefit, so they will be able to earn more. So this is announced, this MSP is announced to give incentive to the farmers, and with that, when there is more production, the surplus food grains can be stored in the granaries, and this is what we term as a buffer stock. So it is important that there is enough food available for all the people, and it is affordable also. And that is how the government tries to help out, particularly the poor people. Thank you.